Oh man. How should we start this off today, producer Bethany? Here's a great place to start. A lot of times I'm on Instagram or I'm on Twitter, I'm TikTok, whatever, and I see these plates and I see these chefs and they make all this great looking food, and then they got people that review food. They go to these food spots and they're like, man, I'm trying the best burger from over here and whatever. Cool. I've yet to see one meal make me just want it as much as I wanted the camel's hump from Rush Hour. Lee made that camel's hump look amazing in Rush Hour, yo, like incredible. He damn near tripped. I don't know if you remember the movie like that. He damn near tripped. He had on hard bottoms too in the streets, in the concrete jungle and all that. And he damn near tripped eating that. But he didn't even care. He kept his balance. You know what I'm saying? You see right then and there, Carter tried it and was like, it need a little hot sauce because what doesn't? Right? Like, we're going to put hot sauce on whatever. It's no disrespect. You invite me to your crib. You serve me a good meal. I may just throw a couple, that's just for the culture. That's just for the love, man. That's what we do. It's all for the love, episode 3, man. We in the building. Came to talk about a couple things, Later in the show, I will be joined by the homie, my brother, Jackson Safon, producer for, the Draymond Green show, producer of Jenkins and Jones, R2C2. Got some things going on, we're gonna get into a couple things, man. Asking some very interesting questions, we gonna speak. But I really want to start this off by talking about a legend who inspired the name of this podcast, by the way. None other than Jadakiss. Jadakiss has found himself a new hobby. A new hobby. He already mastered rap. We know this, well documented. Top 5 dead or alive is not just a cool saying, it's really what it is. But now he's out here getting into axe throwing. Now, this is a man who before would have been involved in dropping refrigerators on people and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And cooking base on Foreman grills and things like that. But these days he's getting into axe throwing and he's pretty damn good at it. He's out there having fun. He's living his life. And he's good. And he's hype. That's Glee. When you see that clip, that video, that's Glee. You know what Glee look like? Joy? Shit like that. I'm happy to see it. Because not a lot of times do we see our rappers, get a chance to, one, grow old, to be able to, raise their children and find out new things about themselves and get into, different type of things off the court, so to speak, right? Like you see Styles P, the juice bars and, inspiring people to eat better. He's out here saving people from cops and all kind of shit. Now, these guys are these guys are heroes. I'm not sure if y'all really understand what's going on here. These guys are heroes. And also Jadakiss is actually voiced. He was the voice of let me find this right now. Let me pull this up right now. Captain Lightspeed and Netflix Fearless. It's Jadakiss. He voiced that. This guy's a living legend, man. And now he out here throwing axes. So I don't know what that means for whoever decides to challenge him on the next verses and all of that. He grabbing hats off people and all this shit already. And now y'all let him get, comfy throwing axes and shit. Good luck. Best of luck to you. You know what I mean? Also, we got another legend, a certified legend. Let's not even play. Let's not play with his name like that. We're talking about Ray J. We're not just calling him Brandy's brother like that. You know what I mean? We're gonna call him Ray. Call him Ray J. What was the name? What was the name that he had? Producer Bethany, if you don't mind. What was the name that he wanted us to call him? He switched his name up and said he wanted us to call him something. Oh, Tron. There we go. Shout out to B, Queen B from the South. Watch your mouth and all that. Tron is the name that he wanted us to call him. So, you know what? We're going to call him Tron. But he has the RayCon campaign out here still going strong. I see it being promoted beautifully. It's being marketed beautifully. And I had a pair. I need a new pair. I had a gold pair. They're dope. They come in a great case. They're designed well. They sound good. And I'm just happy that he's in this space and he's, still out here going strong with it because, we live in a day and time where it's like AirPods just by name, right? AirPods, or you got the Bose and you got this, all these big companies that just off the name alone, people are just going to buy it. So with the RayCon shit, I love to see people support it. I love to see the people, support his products, man. I really do. I definitely need another pair. I'm going to get another pair soon, man. If your aunt, quit asking to borrow money from me and all that, I'll probably be able to get it quicker. You feel me? But that's neither here nor there. We're not gonna spend too much time on that. It's fine. That's personal matters that we're gonna handle off the airs. I don't want no problems and none of that. Shout out to the Clips. You know what I'm saying? We got a new Clips record this year on Pusha T's album. It's Almost Dry. So shout out to Push for that because we've been begging. I know I have. If you're like me, you cut from the same cloth as I am. We've been begging for a new Clips album, like a Clips reunion, so to speak. Even though they never really broke up. These guys are brothers. You know what I mean? It's just Malice went off and he was no Malice. Pusha T still, talking about having snowball fights with a certain substance and things like that. So, that it just didn't mesh at the time. But now I think they kind of came back to the table. They sitting down together. Think we may be able to get new music soon because we just saw them live on stage, BET Awards. These guys performed grinding. This song came out 20 years ago. Still sounds amazing right now. There are still lunch tables that have to take therapy and counseling for the beating they took back then 20 years ago when that shit was out and everybody was trying to be a rapper and rap over that beat, with the little 30 minutes to the hour that we had to eat. Niggas was trying to get them 16s off. You know what I mean? We had to do what we had to do. But it was just beautiful to see them back on stage. And also, it gave me hope that we could get a Clips album. We're one step closer to getting a Clips album. If we got Malice on stage rapping that classic, that means that he's kind of back. He back around. He back getting some shots up. You know what I mean? Like, you see Allen Iverson in the gym somewhere getting some shots up, you better, get the recording and all that. You seeing a legend at work, It is what it is. So, hopefully we get that Clips album. No rush. Just give us like 8 joints. I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking for a double disc or nothing crazy like that. Maybe sprinkle some Ab Live on there. Maybe. I'm just asking. Just for me. Just me. Just the big homie. It's the big hairline. You feel me? Just for me. If I can ask y'all anything, please give me that. Also want to talk about, we all about giving flowers and recognition, things like that. And I have to say this about KeKe Wyatt, right? Every time I hear KeKe Wyatt's name, it's always like, she having another kid and, she got all these kids and all this type of stuff, right? Now, I'm going to just go out there and say this right now. KeKe Wyatt, I was not familiar with your game. I didn't watch much tape. So I was not aware of the skills and, just the moves, the things that you were capable of until this video recently, came out. And I started the show off talking about camel hump and, listen, she out here. She out here. I'll just tell y'all that right now. Like, if you have not seen that video of her on stage, I get it. I get it. That's not something that you don't play with that. You lay with that. And you stay with that. You hear me? I get it, man. It made all the sense in the world. Like, I kept seeing people talk about KeKe, and the first thing popped in my mind, I was like, was she about to have another kid? Like, what's going on? Saw the video, I said, okay. All right now. Now, again, I never knew. So forgive me. If I'm late I never knew. You got to forgive me for that. But I'm here now, and I will be watching more tape moving forward, just to stay up to date on things like that, It's just I feel as though it's my job, if I'm supposed to stay, up to date on things that's relevant to the culture, I got to see what's going on. Basketball season is back, and you know what I mean? She was doing some dribbling up there, you feel me? Like, I'm just trying to paint the picture for y'all if y'all haven't saw it yet. I'm just trying to let you know. Remember the N1 commercials and all that when they dribbling with with the two at the same. You know what I mean? Like, remember those? You might want to get familiar. You know what I mean? Like, you'll understand. It's going to all make sense. You know, what's the Jay-Z? Soon you'll understand. Yeah, clarity. Clarity is what that is. You understand? Let's get into not even get into this, right? But I do want to speak about this. We do have Draymond Green's producer, you know, joining us here. He'll be here shortly. He's pulling up shortly. But Draymond Green and Jordan Poole seem to have gotten to a little kerfluffle, or whatever you want to call it, right? Little dust up. And most people always just, you know, they're like, oh, but Draymond, he's doing this. It's him again. My thing is, you can't build a championship team if niggas ain't getting punched in the mouth or shoved or put in some type of headlock or something. Like, it has to, like, you remember Jordan and Steve Kerr? Steve Kerr caught that right hook and he didn't miss that shot in the finals. So, I mean, I'm not promoting violence. I'm just saying, when it comes to basketball, comes to athletes at the highest level, especially a team that's fresh off a championship, you need to know if they still got that dog in them or if they Hollywood. And this don't seem too Hollywood to me. This seemed like they still got that dog in them, all of them. And I remember Clay famously said one time, if you can't get yelled at by Draymond, I mean, you might not, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but you might not really be cut out for this. Like, it's just kind of a rite of passage. Like, this is Dre. This is just how he is. You understand? So, as the details come out, we'll find out more and stuff like that. But for right now, I'm not mad at it. I want that from my team. You know, I want that from players right now, because a lot of times people say the league getting too soft. It's too soft. They too friendly. They too... Well, look. This is what y'all wanted. This is what y'all asked for, right? It's here. It's here now. But again, we'll be joined by Dre's producer right in a couple seconds. We're gonna talk about all that. Talk about a couple players he interviewed, and, you know, just who Dre is. And also another player. Stick around to find out who we talked about, and, you know, he is who he is off that court and on the court at the same time. So stick around for that. You know what I mean? It's coming right up. Joined by my guy right now, Jackson Safon. What's going on, my guy? What's good, man?
What's up, Mari? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining me, man. You know what I mean? Reached out. My man Jackson hit me right back and said, "Yo, I'm there. I'm coming through." You know what I mean? So you know, he had to pull up, man. But so right now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Jackson, let them know what's going on with you. What because they may know your work, they just may not have a face to put to it. So what you got up right now?
Yeah, so I'm a freelance video and pod producer. I've worked on a variety of stuff, but the stuff that I got going on right now is the Draymond Green show is my main one, and then another show for The Volume, which is Colin Cowherd's podcast network. I produce Jenkins and Jones, which is like
the homies
Twitter pod. Yeah, the homies. Yeah.
You
know. And then I'm also working on R2C2, which is a baseball pod hosted by CC Sabathia and Ryan Rucco, and this kind of interesting pod hosted by Greg Olson, the former tight end. He hosts a pod about youth sports and like youth sports culture.
Okay.
It's like kind of niche, but they have really cool guests, and so it's, you know, another just fun project.
Shout out to Greg Olson, man. Greg Olson was a fantasy football legend at the tight end spot. Like, that was he was money every single season. For those of you who play fantasy sports, you know, you see Greg Olson out there, you're like, hey, I know he gonna get them numbers for me. You know what I mean?
I can use me some Greg Olson. All my tight ends in my league.
Oh my God, man! I don't even want to talk about my fantasy football team right now. Like, this is the second week in a row where the app did not tell me that a player was out of the game, and I had to find out the hard way. So it is what it is. It is what it is, man. But you know, we came to talk about you, man. We came to, you know, really just discuss you. I sent you the you know, the rundown earlier. Let's get right to it, man. So you talk about being a producer. How have you been navigating working remote? You know what I mean? Like, do you enjoy remote versus in person? I know most people do, but being a producer, it's a little bit different. So how you finding that?
It's interesting. I'm on year whatever since the pandemic, so year like 2.5 now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at the Ringer when the remote work first started, like in the pandemic, March 2020. And that was, at that time, it was just a huge adjustment for everyone. Honestly, at that time, we just like had a lot less work because we just didn't know how to do it. So for the summer of 2020, when everyone was locked up, I was like, I mean, this isn't the worst thing in the world. If at least I'm not like swamped with work. But once everyone, ourselves included, and now me as a freelancer, sort of got our feet under us, it's definitely been an adjustment. I think there's some pros to it and some obvious cons. The pros, I think, the big pro is that before, at least when I was at the Ringer, and maybe this isn't true of everyone, but we felt because we cared about production quality, we cared about and the in-person interviews are obviously just better. We pretty much limited ourselves to all the different shows that at least I worked on and the video team worked on, where the guests had to be there in person. And the moment that the pandemic hit, there wasn't any choice anymore. So at that point, it was like, well, remote's just the way it is. And then everyone's kind of just gotten used to that. And so because people are more forgiving with the video quality and the audio quality, because in the remote world, it allows the guest booking. We can just get people from anywhere. They don't have to be in LA. They don't have to be, for people who are in New York, they don't have to be in New York. It makes, and for shows like Draymond's where he's traveling and the guests are more often than not players, they're always traveling. It makes the guest booking process infinitely easier. So that's the big pro. And then the con is obviously the production value's lower, the conversations. I think guys like Dre and most podcast hosts at this point have sort of adapted to the remote conversation world, but it's still undeniably just not going to be as good as when you're sitting in person. So I think the quality of the conversations more so than the quality of the video, because like I said, I think people are pretty forgiving at this point. Like everyone kind of gets it. Zoom, Riverside, whatever you want to use. Like everyone kind of gets the bit. But the quality of the conversations, I think, is not as good. And that's why I think, along with the production value, but I think the conversation quality more so is why I think shows like All the Smoke and The Pivot, these guys that have sort of like stuck to their in-person guns, now that that's allowed back and possible again, they haven't done as much remote stuff. Like some shows have stuck to remote, all of mine have, and like it works. But those guys were like, nah, fuck that. And I think while that's harder, they probably get fewer guests because of that. Like that's just the reality, but their conversations are going to be better. So I think it's sort of a push and pull.
Yeah, I think I think especially like 2 years ago when everything first started, it was like nobody knew how to use anything. It was like, okay, turn your camera on. You don't know where to click. You don't know how to set this up. I know for a fact that, when the kids had to, do virtual, learning from, I was like, hey, hold on. Like, hold on. What's going on? I'm hearing 20 other kids in the class. I'm like, yo. So I know those teachers was going through it, man. But that's interesting because especially with a guy like Dre, he has such a big personality that I would imagine that in person, it's like there's like a lot of things going on at once, especially if he's talking to a guest that he's more familiar with and things like that. But he doesn't seem to, I guess, like miss a beat, with the things being virtual now. Like this is just him. Do you see that? I guess my question is, when you see the public reaction to Dre and like how he is in these little clips and things like that, for you, is that just like, that's just Dre? Like this is just par for the course. This is not something it's not an act. He's not putting on right now. Like this is just him.
Oh yeah, it's definitely just him. As far as the remote versus in-person thing for him, I think he had a podcast, I guess, before this one that we've started that didn't go very well. But this one, we started remote, like from the beginning. So it's not really a lot of people have had an adjustment period going from in-person to remote. He hasn't really had that because we've been remote the whole time. So we've done like 6 or so in-person episodes, just like sporadically. One with Steph at Chase Center, and that was right before the playoffs. We did a few over the summer at his. I actually don't want to say where it was, but with Kyle Kuzma and DeMar DeRozan, and then he did some when he was at Michigan State when he was inducted to the Michigan State Hall of Fame. Shout out with Coach Izzo and Mateen Cleaves, and those. I think part of it is because, coincidentally or maybe not coincidentally, the ones that we've done that are in person are, like you said, people that he knows really well. Like those are some of the people that he's closest to, like in the whole world. So that really helps. But he's just good, man. He's just like good regardless, and he's gotten better. Like when we first started, I think he would tell you as much as I would that he's not as good as he is now, and so he's gotten a lot better, and it shows. And I mean, but he's just naturally good enough and compelling enough of a speaker
Yeah.
that it doesn't really matter what Zoom, in-person podcast, TV show, like whatever, the shop, like it doesn't matter. He's gonna be interesting.
He's usually great. Whenever I hear Dre talking, he's usually great, and he reminds me a lot of the dudes from back home. Like, I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, so a lot of times when I listen to him talk, I can forgive him for being Michigan State. I'm a Michigan guy, so it's like it's cool. It's no problem. You know what I mean? Especially because Tom Izzo is like God out there in Michigan. No matter what team you root for, Tom Izzo is just that guy. Team Cleve, shout out to him. So yeah, Dre is great. Somebody else who's great that we got to talk about because we see him out here sparring in a pair of Nike Monarchs. It's Mike Tyson, right? Now, there's this thing I think in most people, most men, you watch TV, you watch these action movies, and you like him. I've never thought that to myself about Mike Tyson. Now, I'm gonna ask you this: what would it take, circumstances or a dollar amount, anything, for you to get in the ring and not even seriously box with Mike, but spar with Mike for like a round? Let's say it's like a minute 20.
We talking current Mike Tyson, or
we're talking about Mike right now, with the Monarchs on and everything right now?
Okay, that is a little bit more interesting. When you first posed the question to me, I was like, Prime Mike, I don't think there's a single dollar amount I'm putting up for that, but I just care about the face too much a little bit. I think a little too vain for that. But current Mike Tyson, I think. Look, not that I am a high level athlete by any means, but I think I have enough mobility that I think I could get in there and spar. I would try to take as few punches as possible. Still, I mean, that's got to be the goal. But even so. I think current Mike, the real problem is the mobility. I think if he's landing a punch, it's still packing more force and more heat than any punch I could even imagine taking, frankly. Never mind punches that I have taken, punches that I could even imagine taking. So you got to just try to be as evasive as possible. But in terms of circumstances, yeah, it's not really circumstances. I think it would just have to be dollars. For a minute with current Mike Tyson, I think I would do that for... Oh man, see, I don't want to overshoot it because I don't want to sound greedy, but I don't want to undershoot it because I don't want to do this. So so let's say
they offered, let's say 10K was the starting point. That's the starting point of negotiation. Is 10K.
I'm not doing it for 10K.
It's over with for 10K.
This is all assuming. This is all assuming that Mike Tyson is in there trying to actually like spar with me. If he's like, who's this kid that and he's like, I don't care. Then like, whatever, we can hang out for a minute. But if he's like trying to land a punch, then yeah, 10K is not even close. I was thinking more like 100K.
Oh, so 100. The conversation has to start at 100,000.
Has to start at $100,000.
Yeah, I'm
not
mad
small
at that.
ring, and that's a big man.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that because like you said, that's Mike. At any given point, whether it's 30 years ago or 30 seconds, that's Mike. Like that's still him. And I've seen him do like these little. Like he'll be just out somewhere in public and he'll just do like a practice showing a guy like, yeah, this is what I would do, and I'm like, whoa. So imagine if he was mad at you and people were telling him. You see him punching the pad
still, and you're like, that was so loud, and the speed of his hands still. I know he's got a lot of health issues and he's really slowing down and all that, but the speed of that man's hands is still so mind blowing that. And I am not someone who like grew up boxing, so I grew up like playing sports but not boxing. So I don't have any sort of concept of how to actually box Mike Tyson or how to approach that other than just like run around and try not to get punched for a minute. So it would have to take it would take a lot. Yeah.
I think 100 is like you said, minimum is 100.
Right.
Let's start the conversation there. One more quick thing before we get you out of here. So being that you have produced these shows and you see Draymond interacting with the guys that he knows, these players, has there been a player that you've learned more about as you know what I mean? Like you may have a idea about them beforehand, but then now you kind of get to see that interaction happen, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that, or this dude is cool.
That's interesting. I think DeMar was really cool. Like, I mean, I've heard enough about DeMar from all sorts of people, the internet, actual people, that he's like a really true, original, like he's really true to himself. He's true to his community, all that. And he obviously has been outspoken before about mental health stuff, which I thought's always been really cool. But he was just so cool and laid back and just like down to talk about whatever. And like he was just the nicest dude, and I'm just a huge DeMar fan from that experience. We just had Pat Bev on recently. The episode has not dropped yet, but that is coming.
Okay.
He was exactly who he presents as. So it's not like I learned something, a new side of him. But it felt very. I guess the thing that I learned, or what I think I learned, is that it felt very genuine. It didn't feel like sometimes you watch these guys just play basketball. Like I might have, I don't really remember, but like I might have thought the same about Dre for a while before like actually knowing the guy. I think guys like him, Pat Bev, these sort of instigator types, and you're like, okay, is this just like an act? Like,
yeah, you think it's just right.
And I don't think it's an act for Dre, but he is not that way off the court. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. I think that's his real sort of on court persona. I don't mean to say he's like acting, but Pat
he's
Bev
leaning into it on the court.
Pat Bev is so true to that persona off the court too. He is just like he's like a Tasmanian devil. You're just like how like the energy and like the. Not in a mean way, because like he's just so himself and so much, and it's really in a podcast setting. I think it's really really fun. I'm sure there are some settings where I'd be like, "Yo, we're just trying to like chill. Like, can you just like take a breath or two?" But in a podcast setting where you're like, "Let's just turn it up, let it rip for an hour." Like he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
That's good, man. Shout out to DeMar too, because I'm a Bulls fan. You know what I mean. So I love hearing great things about my guy DeMar. But yeah, man, listen, I do want to say one more time, man, listen, thank you for joining me. You are welcome to come back anytime you're free. You know what I mean? You want to come back through and pull up and kick it. It's open. But let the people know out there where they can follow you, where they can find your work, all of that.
Yeah. You can just follow me on Twitter and IG, just at Jackson Safon. But less about me. More importantly, just subscribe to the Draymond Green Show. You know, that's all I got to plug.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Dre, man. Shout out to Draymond, man. I gotta speak to Dre, man. We gotta talk about that another time and all that. You know what I mean? But shout out to him. Shout out to you. Thank you, my brother, for joining me, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
My guy. Yeah, man. Shout out to my brother, Jackson Safon. Once again, follow him on Twitter, on Instagram. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jenkins and Jones. Those are the homies. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the R2C2 show. Shout out to Dre's podcast and everything he got going on. And, listen, the links will be in the description. You can follow me on social media. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend, man. We out.